All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for being here today. At Open Buffalo, we often begin our meetings with an artistic reflection. So today, to open today's meeting, allow me to introduce Leslie Nickerson, our Director of Leadership and Development, who's going to start us off with a musical introduction.
Thank you. So what I'm going to share with you this morning is a gift from some of my ancestors. We like to acknowledge those who came before us as a way of grounding our work in our history and our origins and in our common humanity. So you'll see, if we can advance the slide, there's the, there it is. Okay, you'll see a couple of people here with me in the picture. That is my grandmother, B. Keegan, who I called Mimi growing up, and her favorite brother, my great uncle Dick. And they grew up on a dairy farm in the Adirondack Mountains near Ticonderoga, New York. And their mother, my great grandmother, was an accomplished musician. So they had a lot of music in the home growing up. Great grandmother never finished 8th grade, never had a music lesson in her life, but she could reportedly play anything by ear. So that gift was passed to her children and passed down through the line to me. And so the mountain dulcimer that I'll be playing today was made by Uncle Dick for Mimi. And I have a lot of memories of her sitting on the glider on her front porch, picking out tunes on it. Mimi transitioned during the COVID pandemic. She was 99 years old, and she was in a nursing home. And at that point, her nursing home was on lockdown, so we were not allowed to be with her, which weighed really heavily on me. But that night, after she had passed, I woke up in the middle of the night. It was like 4 a.m, and I felt her hand on my shoulder, and I knew I had to get the dulcimer out and play it. And what came through my hands and through the dulcimer was this tune that I'm going to play for you. It is Beyond a Shadow of a Doubt from her. And as you're listening to Mimi's piece, I invite each of you to call into your mind and your heart an ancestor of yours who has helped to shape you into the person that you are today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leslie. I don't know about all of you, but I was thinking of my grandmother while while she was playing that definitely helped to shape who I am today. Thank you again, Leslie. So hello, everyone. I am Zanetta Everhart, and I would like to welcome you to the Open Buffalo Annual Meeting. Open Buffalo was established in 2014 as a response to a call from Buffalonians who demanded a city that is equal, just, and free. 4 grassroots organizations, Voice Buffalo, Push Buffalo, the Coalition for Economic Justice and Partnership for Public Good, engaged in a broad-reaching community process to shape and innovate Answer Forward. This process led to the creation of Open Buffalo as a nonprofit organization to help realize this vision for our city. Since then, Open Buffalo has led and stood shoulder to shoulder with leaders and organizations to win victories, such as the fight for 15, raising the minimum wage, the legalization of marijuana, and the New York State Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. With each of these victories, we have lived into our mission to bring racial, economic, and ecological justice to our neighborhoods. I've been on the board of Open Buffalo for a few years, and on behalf of the board of directors, I want to welcome you to the OB meeting. I have been involved with Open Buffalo since about 2019. I participated in the Justice League Institute, and I am also a 2020 emerging leader. And I have served as the chair of the Sankofa fundraiser that they hold every year. I am excited to introduce an organization that means so much to me, to all of you. Next, I want to introduce the OB Director of Community Engagement, Devon Patterson, and Deputy Director, Max Anderson.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody feeling?
Pretty good.
Good. Did anybody think of any ancestors specifically while Leslie was playing?
Yeah.
Raise a hand. So did I. Okay. We all wanted as a team to just take a few moments to think about and honor the folks and our loved ones who became ancestors almost a year ago down the street from our office on Jefferson at the top store. So if we could all just do whatever you like to do for the next few moments, we'll just be silent in their memory. Thank you. I kind of didn't know how to fully address this section, honestly, because there's so much to say. I think about it every single day. My thoughts evolve on a daily basis. This morning, Mike Kwan, one of our youth action leaders, Mike Kwan, please raise your hand. It's Mike Kwan Greer. He's doing big things. He's been part of starting our youth action program as well as taking it to the next level this year, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But Mike Kwan reminded me, he said, "Oh, Max, it's March 8th. It was a year ago that we went to Albany to push for funding for climate justice throughout New York State on Lobby Day." And I'm like, "You're right." But I also remember March 8th because I realized that's the day that the person who took our loved ones was in Buffalo stalking our people at the top store and getting tossed out and maybe doing reconnaissance or whatever. So I don't say that to bring anybody down, but I say it to say that we are grounded in this work, in being cognizant of and building ourselves up against this constant threat of white supremacy, of systemic racism, and of economic and ecological injustice. Okay? We're going to talk a little bit today about the ways that we like to address that, but realizing we don't address everything under the rainbow. We work with a lot of different partners who specialize in different areas like food, like transportation, like housing. But we're going to talk about how we intersect with that work. I just want to talk with Dave on a little bit about some of the ways that we reacted specifically to TOPS last year. So there are you see a few snapshots here of a few events from last summer. Dave Owen really was the driver as our director of community engagement for most of these events. So I'm going to hand it over to him to give us a little bit of the flavor and then talk about some of the nuts and bolts of what we did.
How y'all doing? Hey. I was gonna take pictures. But as Max said, yes, we know our community needed to heal, right? And there's not many accessibilities and avenues for our community on Jefferson Avenue. So we took to the streets. We pivoted a little bit of our mission, but we stayed true to what our purpose was. And on the top right, we were blessed with social change from Chicago, and we fed 500 families at the Mikowski Center. I think I'm saying that right, on Jefferson and Bess. We also did voter registration work. We were just there to be there for the community. Right here, we're seeing with, I think the TOPS employee, Mark Talley, or I know Mr. Mark Talley from Agents of Advocacy, they're dropping off diapers for us because through the help of donations and Every Bottom Covered, we distributed over 20,000 diapers to families with baby and baby products as well. In the bottom left, that's my baby. That's the color run. Youth Action has been organizing a color run, which I'll let Leslie talk about more. But it's just another opportunity for us to be out in the community, just have fun. Well, we can't ensure safety, but we can ensure that together we're creating some kind of catchment container where we together can have a space to do what we need to as a community. And then the bottom right is here packing bags for grocery distribution. We gave away over 5,000 bags of groceries, non-perishable and perishable items, to whoever needed on the Jefferson Avenue community.
So just a rundown of some of the statistics that Dave Owen mentioned. But I just want to reiterate, this is not our normal operating model. We very much had to pause, like a lot of organizations in this room, we had to pause and meet immediate needs. We had to talk to people. We had to put our regular programs on pause and be out on the street, distributing food, distributing essential goods that were hard to access even when TOPS was open, and they were impossible to access when TOPS was gone. I just wanted to lift up a few partners that really helped us to do that work, including African Heritage Food Co-op, supplying us with actual produce and food, non-perishables to distribute. Every Bottom Covered by Razia Hill. I should mention Alex Wright, Lions City, the co-op. But the two of them were there for us every single day. We were out canvassing with Black Love Resisting the Rust and with Color Girls Like Too, groups like that, to ascertain what were the needs in the neighborhood and to meet people who, a lot of them were scared to come out. They hadn't been out of the house in a couple weeks after it happened. And there was a very low level of trust and feeling of safety. So I just wanted to lift up those partners who really helped us to shift and to meet that need. We're gonna run through a few more campaigns that we're doing this year. Another major one that we're addressing is called Get the Lead Out, which falls, yeah, that's right. So our main partner with that is Heart of the City Neighborhoods. Stephanie Simeon, the executive director, is here, as well as Cindy Gosh, who's helping to coordinate our project. Maybe you can raise your hands. Okay. So if you have questions about that, come and see Stephanie, Cindy, or Rachel. Rachel, raise your hand, please. Rachel Orton, our program associate, who's taken lead at Open Buffalo on that campaign. Basically, building upon the really impactful work that a lot of our partners have done in the community around lifting up the dangers of lead, like PPG, Connect, and Push Buffalo. We've collaborated over the years to get that information out. The next phase of this is, for us, is the Get the Lead Out campaign, where we are looking at lead-based water supply lines that are going into people's homes. Some of them are in people's actual homes, getting out information about who's responsible for what and how do you get your lines replaced, whether it's in your house or a line leading to your house. We know that there are programs to replace the lead lines, but what we're doing specifically is we're empowering residents to test their water, so that we can develop a comprehensive map of all the lead-based water lines that are in the city. The information we have is that there are over 40,000 of them. 40,000. And we know what lead does to our youth and to our families, don't we?
Yeah.
So this is very important, very serious work. I also wanted to lift up, when we talk about ecological justice, we kind of I look at it as like air, water, and soil. We're also looking at the soil, specifically like in the Delavan Ryder neighborhood, where they're dealing with high levels of ecological contamination stemming from environmental racism, which places Black communities on toxic sites. And they're dealing with a lot of issues there. Our partner on the ground there, Mr. Greg Glover, came to us for support to try to get some kind of, one, to get someone to listen, two, to establish the severity and the seriousness of the problem, and three, to get some remedies on it, because people have known for decades this is a Superfund site. We know it's not safe to live by it, but there's no accountability. So a lot of the work that we do is training, uplifting leaders like Greg to learn what kind of power they have to actually make a difference to eradicating contaminants like lead and whatever else we're going to find out is in that soil through our soil testing work that's coming up this year. And I will kick it over to Dave Owen to talk about getting out the vote. Clean mobility.
He meant clean mobility.
Jump.
So continuing on our green work, no pun intended, we have another big opportunity and big project. It's the big long name, so I'm just gonna say clean mobility. But it's a NYSERDA funded project where we have 12 partnering organizations working together to address inequities when it comes to green energy and green mobility. So we'll list all the partners because they're important. List, Heart of the City Neighborhoods, OW, Open Buffalo, the Eastside Bike Club, Shared Mobility Inc., Mobility Development Operations, Go Bike, Coalition for Economic Justice, and Buffalo Niagara Medical Campus. This is creating solutions that actively will reduce air pollution, improve transit access of intersections, the bike lanes, accessibility to electric buses, electric bikes, and better street transportation all in a whole. Currently, we're still looking for 2 RFPs to be closed. So if you guys have any plugs, we're looking for one for marketing and branding, and the other one for stakeholder liaison, which will be doing more data entry work with the community members. So please check our website for those RFPs and our social medias. Also, more big work. Our focus as a part of this project is going to be community engagement, as well as some leadership development. But the bread and butter focus is going to be community engagement. We're going to need help from all of you guys. Identifying 20 neighborhood leadership group members. We're trying to create like a stakeholder gathering group of people on the street, like actual community members who get to have the say and who actually know the issues that are going on in their communities as far as transportation goes. So I just want to plug that in. Anybody has any people they have in mind, just hit me up. My email is daveowen@openbuffalo.org. Thank you.
Oh, this is coming right back to you for this one. But I'll start out, get the vote out. Since 2019, Open Buffalo, we realized like how big of a year 2020 was gonna, well, we thought we knew how big of a year 2020 was gonna be, right? Except that one big thing, we knew the census was coming and we knew the 2020 elections were coming, right? So we said, how do we get our faces, the faces of these young people in this picture, to be at the polls, to be voicing their opinions, to be exerting their power in our democracy. So we started hitting the streets. We really started the seeds of youth action through a few community dance parties we did. We were tabling, and between like November 2019 and the 2020 election, we registered about 800 people to vote, focusing specifically on young people and people on the East Side. And we were, getting the word out about how you could pre-register to vote. If you're 16, you could pre-register to vote for when you're 18. You can vote if you've completed your sentence if you've been involved in the criminal justice system. So just really combating misinformation and disinformation, and empowering people with information, as well as physically telling them that they can vote, registering them to vote, and sending out a lot of reminders, calling them with information about what's on the ballot, what matters to them, why they need to actually show up after registering. So Devon really has been the brainchild since he joined us in 2020 in the middle of a pandemic, to really keep this work going.
Thank you, Max. So just to uplift everything that Max said, essentially since 2020, we've been really trying to increase our efforts for improving democracy. And I say democracy because people should have the right to say what issues or to address the issues that they're facing. So all the effort that I put forth, I had a great foundation. All the effort that's been put forth is to make sure that the community and the surrounding area of Jefferson Avenue for the past 2 years is definitely going to increase now because we're going into Niagara County as far as Erie County. We're making sure that everybody who is affected by voter suppression, so like why the For the People Act or the John Lewis Act is in motion right now, making sure that the polls don't close early, making sure that you have accessibility to get to the polls, that you have the information. If you didn't know, do you know that you are allotted 2 hours throughout your business day, whether you can take it off or not, and still be paid to go vote on a primary, on election day? If I'm saying that correctly, I don't vote the election day. Sorry. But it's things like that, because if you don't know, what you don't know, you don't know. And if nobody's out there helping you, I'm not trying to educate nobody. I'm trying to inform them of things that they already should know. Was public record. So our efforts are only going to continue. Last year, we made 15,000 phone calls. I had some all-star volunteers. I'm going to say that, all-star volunteers. And the age range went from, I think, 17 all the way to 64. Making text messages, we made over 60,000 phone calls, and same age range, 17 all the way to 64. I had, our volunteers were so engaged that they went off the script, and it wasn't just talking about why are you registered to vote or are you going to vote. If they said, no, I'm not registered to vote, or no, I don't plan on voting, my volunteers were asking why. They're indulging in this conversation to see why these people are deciding not to vote. And I loved it because they weren't combative and they weren't argumentative. They were so supportive. Well, I think you should vote because your voice matters. I think you should vote because your opinion matters. And it's relationships like that we're building out on the street, on Jefferson and the greater part of the east side, we're trying to cultivate and maintain when it comes to fighting for our democracy. So the upcoming year, we're going to do, the minimum is 5 voter education votes, register at least 100 voters, 5 voter registration drives, and then making at least 7,500 phone calls and 65,000 text messages. That's all the foundation and basis. Those numbers are just minuscule, right? We're trying to increase that to ensure that the entire city of Buffalo and the entire city of Niagara Falls, maybe we go out to Rochester, maybe we go to Syracuse, who knows, right? But we're making sure that our democracy is going to be fought for and it's going to stay here.
That's right.
That's my
That's it.
And with that, I would like to welcome Ms. Leslie Nickerson to talk about our leadership development programs. Leslie is our Director of Leadership Development.
Thank you, Max. Hello again. Yes, I am Director of Leadership Development. I joined the team at the beginning of August, so I am still a little bit new to the work, but I'm very excited to be here. And you've already met Zanetta, who is a graduate of our Emerging Leaders program, and that's the first thing that I'm going to talk to you about today. Our Emerging Leaders program started in 2015 and has graduated nearly 150 change makers, primarily from under-resourced and marginalized communities since then. It provides hands-on training in leadership skills, community organizing, advocacy campaigns, media and public relations, research, the role of arts in justice movements, and so much more. It connects leaders with the mentorship and the network that they need to build the platform to do their work and to build their power. And it provides a pipeline to place our change makers in positions of authority where they can exercise their leadership. And so alumni of the Emerging Leaders Program have gone on to do amazing things. You heard about Rosalind Hill, who runs Every Bottom Covered. She's one of our Emerging Leaders alumni. They have gone on to found thriving businesses and community-based organizations. They exercise their leadership in local and state government, academic institutions, and both the nonprofit and the for-profit sectors. So they are going places. Now, I could talk about this program all day, but it's going to be a lot more powerful to hear from one of our alumni who has been through the program. Octavio Villegas is an attorney and a member of the Minority Bar Association. He is director of the Buffalo Traffic Violations Agency, and he is an emerging leader from the class of 2016. And as a member of our Emerging Leaders Advisory Board, he has been working with the team on updating the program to make sure that we continue to deliver on the skills and curriculum that our change leaders need to tackle the complex work in today's justice movements. So Octavio, come on up and join us.
Hi, good morning, afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Leslie. And I appreciate everyone being here today. My name is Octavio Villegas. I'm originally from New York City, and I found my way here at Buffalo when UB Law accepted my application, and I came to Buffalo. And let me tell you something, what I appreciate about this city. It is a very low vocal city. It is very passionate. It is very litigious. And if there's something that Buffalo does not see fit, believe me, they will let you know. And when I graduated, UB is up in Amherst. And then when I graduated, I moved into the city on the west side. And it was really there where I saw people that looked like me. I saw issues that were related to me. And I saw the passion or the saying of the city of good neighbors in action. And one of my classmates in law school told me, hey, you're really engaged in the community. Why don't you stop by Open Buffalo and check them out? And I interviewed and I got accepted to Open Buffalo. And in my weekend retreat with Open Buffalo, and it was just an amazing experience. I'm talking about, I come from a diaspora where I'm a first generation American here in the United States, born in New York City, but now live here in Buffalo. And in order for me to know where I'm going, Open Buffalo allowed me to look in the mirror and see who I am, what I am, and being proud of that and reaching back to my roots, because you'll find guidance in that, you'll find purpose in that. And so it really brought in a lot of confidence in me that a lot of, especially men of color, when you look in the mirror, you might not say you have. But Open Buffalo allowed me to be proud of who I am and speak to who I am and speak on behalf of those that are not only came before me, but will come after me. And so it's a very powerful program that I think if anyone has an opportunity to be involved, it's not just open just to young participants, it's open to all participants. It's really just you're measured on how passionate you are of the issues that matter to you, and how coming to Open Buffalo, you will receive not only the training, but the tools necessary to go out there and succeed. Because as I mentioned before, Buffalo is a very vocal city, and we have a lot of individuals, a lot of good neighbors, but one thing that we don't always have is the know-hows and the tools. And so places like Open Buffalo exist, and sure, there are other leadership programs that exist as well, but this one I would say is very, very unique in the sense that we tackle those tough issues that aren't spoken about, that we will be out there in the forefronts and any event that happens. And in this past year, we've had a lot of things happen in the city of Buffalo. And I can tell you from experience, Open Buffalo is there every step and will always show up and support. And so I thank you, those that are donors. I do encourage you to continue to donate to this program, because it has given me the tools to allow me to say, hey, I want to be involved in my city. Let me go volunteer. And through volunteering, I ended up working for the city. And in working for the city, I'm now the director of the Buffalo Traffic Violation Agency, and I'm trying to make sure that things are done the right way. So members in the city of Buffalo, residents in the city of Buffalo, receive that dignity and that respect when it comes to traffic stops, and making sure that things are being done in a fair manner, whether that be on the law enforcement side or on the community side. My job is not just to enforce fines, but to educate folks and really try to make our streets safer and really share that information because it's important. And I think Open Buffalo has given me the confidence to speak up and also represent the city in the best way that I can. So I really thank everyone for your time here today. I'm glad to be here and share that experience with you. And I hope, to see more leaders and more in Open Buffalo in the future.
Thank you so much for that, Octavia. Emerging Leaders is, as he noted, about changing the landscape and the faces of power and decision-making in our communities. And if you want in on this, and I know you do, or maybe you know someone who needs to be in this program, we will be launching the application process for the class of 2023 this spring. So if you want to get on the list to get that application in your inbox the minute it launches, see me after. I believe Rachel also has a sign-up sheet at the end of this, so there will be a QR code and you can go in there if you're feeling tech savvy. But make sure you get on the list. We would love to get you information about that and look for that hitting your inbox sometime in April. We are also looking for mentors for the program. So one of the ways that this program runs, it runs on mentorship. And we need more mentors. We always need more mentors. So if you are in leadership and you're looking for a way to extend a hand and lift up the leaders coming up after you, this is your shot. Please do it. See me after. We will talk. We will make it happen. If you are an alumni of the program, we would love to also have you help with being a mentor or potentially teaching a session or something like that. So come see me. We also have another leadership development program that was alluded to a little bit in our community engagement session. You'll see our crew there in the t-shirts. That's from our second color run. That is Youth Action. Youth Action started in 2019 when young people told us that they have ideas for how to make things better in their communities, but they needed an opening to step up. They were waiting for their chance. And what is Open Buffalo if we're not making openings, right? So that's what we did. We started Youth Action. That is to create that opening for young people between the ages of 14 and 24 to build their own campaigns, actually implement their ideas. So most of our team is in class right now. So I can't introduce you to all of our amazing young leaders, but Mike Juan Greer, our president of Youth Action, is in the back. He's timekeeping for us. That's the most important job today. And he's about to tell me to sit my behind back down. So I'm gonna move this along. Youth Action organizes campaigns on issues that matter the most to them, most recently organizing the Save Our Children campaign to launch the nation's first community-based text line to increase information sharing about missing children and youth and address disparities, because data shows that there is significantly more media attention and action when white youth go missing than when BIPOC youth go missing. So making sure that we have a community-based resource. We're still working on that. It was paused a little bit when we were working on some other things, but it is still very much going to be going on. They have also engaged their community members and public officials on issues such as voting rights and climate change. They have registered voters. They facilitated an intergenerational conversation about voting in the last election cycle. They know how to get their community out to have a good time. As Davon mentioned, they have organized our color run for the last 2 years now. And it gets bigger and better every year. And as well as they also organize resources such as like sneaker drives. They did a sneaker drive where they distributed sneakers to 200 young folks at the beginning of the school year. And they also did a toy drive for the holidays and distributed toys to more than 250 families in the Jefferson Ave community at the holiday season. So they have recently begun training, let me click this. There we go. You'll see a photo of them in action. They were doing a training for the Erie Niagara AHEC Patch teen educators on advocacy and civic engagement. So they are taking the show on the road. And as they're doing that, they're also developing their training skills. So they will be trainers for our Power Up Boot Camp, which is coming up in June, end of June, June 26th through 30th. So we're going to be covering relationship building, narrative storytelling in justice work, creating campaigns, community organizing, all those things. And I've been told to sit my behind down. So without further ado, I am going to turn things back over to Zanetta.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Devon. Open Buffalo is amazing, right? Just listening, I'm on the board, and every time I hear just the amazing work that we're out here doing in the community, it gives me goosebumps. And I just want to, are there any alumni of Emerging Leaders here besides myself? And come stand up, yes. Stand up. Okay, let's give a shout out to Emerging Leaders. How amazing. That program was amazing. It was transformational for myself. And so I know that it was transformational for them as well. And, you know, Emerging Leaders are out here winning in Buffalo. So congratulations to all of you. And in the same vein, do we have any of our board members in here? Yes. Outgoing board members. Please raise. Thank you so much. Just thank you. Thank you. So I want to next introduce Dr. B, who is the Director of Racial Justice and Equity for Open Buffalo.
Yeah, I know I'm short, but man, it hurts.
This is your home.
Oh, we have a phone alert. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Good morning.
Hey.
You got a pulse. Put a fist in the air. All right, all right. My name is Dr. Kush K. Bardwaj. Brought the stash of cards. Connect with me. I am the Director of Racial Equity and Justice here at Open Buffalo. Much to the pleasure of my bosses, I have measured out my comments and I'm reading them to keep me on time because there's big people back there that are going to yank me off the mic otherwise. But a program note, please put a fist in the air. If you have a black star in your white folder, program note, please make sure to see our program associate Rachel to make sure that you got checked in. There's a difference between being registered and making sure that you're checked in, so appreciate that. With that said, allow me to reintroduce myself. I just can't be on a mic without doing that. Sorry. That has to happen. I want to thank all of you for being here. Again, I am known on the streets as Dr. B, not Dr. Kush, Director of Racial Equity and Justice here at Open Buffalo, and I stand before you as an educator in my DNA. When you cut me, I bleed teaching. That's what I do. That's what I'll always do. My bachelor's, master's, and PhD are from the University of Buffalo, and the UB Bulls in the house. All right, let us pay our loans and pray for good inclusive decision-making on our alma mater. And I'm proud to say my background focused specifically on African-American studies, which is getting demonized in parts of this country as we speak, and Native American studies. A lot of people don't know that the UB Native American Studies Department was the Berkeley of the East, and I had the honor of learning from legends like Dr. John Mohawk, God rest his soul, Yvonne Dion Buffalo, God rest her soul, and a global superstar in Chief Warren Lyons. At Open Buffalo, we always like to start with a territorial acknowledgement, so I'd like to do that now. We would like to start by acknowledging the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and by honoring the sovereignty of the 6 nations, the Mohawk, Cayuga, Onondaga, Oneida, Seneca, and Tuscarora, and their land where we are situated and where our coming together today is taking place. In this acknowledgement, we hope to demonstrate respect for the treaties that were made on these territories and remorse for the harms and mistakes of the far and recent past. And we pledge to work toward partnership with a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. Amen and ashe. I'm especially full of gratitude for Ms. Franchelle Parker and Mr. Max Anderson for selecting me to join the team to lead in the RPP program. RPP stands for Race, Power, and Privilege. It is Open Buffalo's anti-racism training and assessment program. And as a social scientist, I go all the way back to when I was a 5th grade student and then became a 5th grade charter school social studies teacher. I'm big on the 5 W's. You can put your hands in the air if you know what the 5 W's are, right? Who, what, when, where, and why. It's like the H, the how. So what is RPP? My immediate answer to you is it's a process. It's a what? I'm all back on the question. It is not an event. It's not a moment. It is a process. Thank you. It is part of a developmental procedure and practice in which the ultimate goal is to help businesses, agencies, nonprofits, and for-profit organizations to develop an anti-racist framework. In simplest terms, we want to help you as people, as employees, as social creatures, to think about how you view yourselves and others. How we perceive others reflects in how we treat others. Agreed? Agreed. All right, so let's agree back. Take me back to my pride. I'm in my pride right now. Watch a lot of Tombstone for people who know that movie. Our RPP program strengthens local businesses and institutions who are seeking to be drivers of community progress. We empower participants with a deep understanding of the history of race in America and systemic, not systematic, systemic oppression, as well as tools for dismantling internal and external racial oppression. Let me provide you with a snapshot of the process. Mr. Max? Bam!
It is very circular, it is very nice, very, very artsy, I think. There's intake consultation, the research and data gathering, tailor the training based on the collected data, and what I call the Super Bowl, the wedding. Anyone who's done business with me knows I just speak in metaphors, that's what I do. And step 5, to analyze results and deliver recommendations. This, again, stands in contrast to a lot of what's taking place in organizations and communities where they just have some person come in and check a box and do things like that. So let's jump from off the W's to the H. How? How did RPP come to be? RPP was actually conceived in 2021, but the catalyst and urgency turned up to 1,000 following the George Floyd protests and the horrible massacre of May 14th, 2022. Open Buffalo, in accordance with our mission and commitment to racial, economic, and ecological justice, sought to create an impactful way to understand and combat white supremacy and institutionalized racism. We sought to help people understand that it is not just a murderer shooting up our elders at tops, nor is it just a policeman kneeling on a black man's neck on camera, extinguishing his life. It is systemic. We at Open Buffalo wanted to do the deep dive. It is important to acknowledge, however, the important and wonderful DEI work many people throughout Western New York and throughout the nation are doing. Raise your hand if that's something that you are doing. Much love and respect to you. But we sought to do something more, something different, something comprehensive. I often refer to RPP as DEI on steroids. It's not for the faint of heart. I'll be taking questions at the end, Mr. Field.
Can you explain DEI?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion is the current. Here I go. You're not starting. Watch the tie tack spin. Shout out to my Max. It's a saturated market right now. It's a saturated market right now, and again, I can't love my bosses, Fran and Max, any more than for taking me off the plantation of higher education, for freeing me. I don't have to worry about backlash. My boss doesn't. Why you send that Dr. B? You know what he said? Yeah, I know what he said. That's why I sent him to. The DEI initiatives have turned into some pageantry in some senses, not all. A lot of box checking. Okay, so we are doing comprehensive work here at Open Buffalo. Why is it important? Institutionalized racism is so prevalent in our country that Congress is in the process of passing a resolution declaring racism a public health crisis. Many of us in this room know that already. By providing RPP trainings, institutions and agencies may better understand how other communities perceive and interact with them. What does that mean? I got agencies literally telling me, Dr. B, we don't do business with Black folk, we'd like to. RPP goes beyond the skin level. We go into the bone marrow of things so that you can really understand and embrace other communities and not just do business with them. I can speak for days, heck, months about why RPP is important, but something I really want to convey to you is the RPP difference. The RPP what?
Difference.
You with me, I bet. That lies in the customization. The RPP process includes a racial equity audit and an organizational improvement plan customized to meet the needs of our clients. We believe relationship building to be the cornerstone in dismantling oppression. Thus, we engage in trust building activities, relationship building activities that give participants safe spaces to think, talk, and feel in ways that they haven't been able to before. I cannot stress enough how this is not a one and done event. We get to know you before we touch down on your soil to do the deep dive. And I pray that the pandemic doesn't make me do this on screen, because I gotta be with you and shake you up. We take some important data from you and sit down with you and analyze the findings to customize your actual training. Some of the tools we have are the intake and goals questionnaire, organizational equity audit, the organizational readiness questionnaire, and an internal staff survey. Do you feel seen and heard? Who do you feel dissed at your job, at your agency, at your institution? If you look at the 5-step diagram, you'll notice the 5th step is to analyze training results and deliver recommendations for moving forward. That reflects our greater mission with you and with Buffalo. We envision RPP participants, every agency, every organization, to become part of a broader movement, a type of anti-racist army, if you will. I like Dr. Cornel West's phrase of principal coalitions, when he wrote Race Matters so many years ago, in which we stand in solidarity, big shout out to AAS fam, in which we stand in solidarity against the social cancers that infect our communities, infect our families, and yes, infect our places of work. I'd like you to know that we are already in broad sectors throughout society. As I said, nonprofit, for-profit, schools, academia, tradition schools. We just did a high school, biggest cohort training. The list continues to build. What I ask of you is to take a serious look at what we do and how we do it. And you'll get an understanding of who we are at Open Buffalo. This is life preparation, this work that I've been blessed and honored to be brought aboard to do. We are actively confronting, big shout out to my former student and MAC champion, Dave Owen Patterson, who brought me to Open Buffalo, because we're confronting an active assault on democracy and history by doing this work. This is cutting edge work. We are seeing Black people becoming agents of systemic change. And yes, we are engaging with all allies and developing all allies, Black, brown, white, gay, straight, all that, who can help move us all forward. Learning about systemic racism and white supremacy and how to combat it is not solely on Black and brown people. Agreed?
Agreed.
It takes not a village, but villages. I'm getting yanked by the big people in the back. I gotta give a shout out to Western New York Foundation and Beth and Lauren, who've been just such strong supporters, and Dr. Mark Scott and the Oshai Foundation, and my brother Dr. Watts from the Africana Studies program at Buff State University. They're really happy about that later. But finally, we are in the process of and invite you to join us in building resources to convene RPP alumni, perhaps in a yearly conference, hopefully at Juneteenth this year, and at the Sankofa celebration in the fall. We look for your support. We look for your engagement. We look for your commitment to strengthening our democracy so that Buffalo is truly open for all. I actually had time for questions and answers, but I'm about to get yanked. Thank you for your time. God bless and protect you always. will not forget my phone or my water.
Or business card.
Now I'm gonna leave the cards up there.
Thank you so much, Dr. B. It is very important that when we're working in DEI spaces, that it's not just about checking a box. As Director of Diversity and Inclusion for Senator Tim Kennedy, I'm happy to say that my position is not about checking a box, it's about actually doing the work. And so thank you, Dr. B, for all the work that you continue to do. Another challenge we face is financially sustaining the work. So please save the date for our movement morning, donors breakfast. After a 3-year COVID break, we are back at it and back in person. Please save the date for June 8th. There's a save the date flyer right here in your folder. So don't forget to pull that out and add it to your Google Calendar, because I know me, I can't go nowhere without that Google Calendar. We are looking for table captains. As a table captain, you will be responsible for recruiting your network, family, and friends to learn about the work of Open Buffalo and hopefully raise some major funds to keep the programs you learned about here today going. Raise your hand if you're coming to the movement morning. I'm gonna raise both my hands because I'm gonna be there. Because I'll definitely be there. And if you're interested in being a table captain, please see Franchelle afterwards, and she'll get you all signed up. And speaking of Franchelle, I want to introduce the Executive Director of Open Buffalo, Franchelle.
Ooh, child. That was a lot of work. Sometimes you don't notice it on a day-to-day basis. I was like, wow, that's a lot. Thank you. Thank you for taking your time and being with us, learning about our work, our programs. It's not cliche to say it only happens because of this space, this room, your ideas, your text messages, your emails. Even when I don't get back to you, you still are on me. Thank you. Thank you for all of the work that everyone in this space is doing today. I haven't done a lot of public speaking since May 14th. My heart is still heavy. I'm grieving. It seems like I never really have the words to express the urgency of the moment. So I took a lot of time to reflect on what I wanted to share today. And what I kept coming back to was, what does it mean to be free? And when I thought about it, the different elements and dimensions of what freedom could really be, I landed on to be able to live a life of self-determination. And as long as someone's liberation doesn't cause you or someone that you love to be oppressed, isn't that what we should all be striving for? So today I want to be clear. We haven't said it today. We want to be clear that we stand in absolute solidarity with the brave LGBTQ plus students that will be singing and dancing and protesting and organizing on the campus of University of Buffalo tomorrow.
Yeah.
Words matter.
Yes.
Words matter. As a community that's still seeking to grieve and to heal, we know directly the impacts of what happens. We know all too well the deadly impacts of replacement theory rhetoric, and that domestic terroristic words become terrorism. So whatever we can do in this room to stand in solidarity with the staff, the teachers, and the students on the campus. Let us do that. To make sure that our young people, our students feel safe. Then I thought about, what does it mean to be safe? I reflect back to our 2016 Emerging Leaders class opening weekend retreat. We held it at a hotel in Cheektowaga. The retreat is actually meant to be a safe space to ideate and to heal from daily stressors. What started out as an empowering weekend had the potential to turn deadly when a dozen Cheektowaga police responded to laughter coming from our emerging leaders room that night. Hands on guns. I tried to talk the police down. I tried to de-escalate in the moment, and I could tell that that was not working. So I made the decision to evacuate all of our emerging leaders, our staff, our trainers, in the middle of the night during a thunderstorm. I remember that the hotel staff was saying, "You're not being kicked out." And none of them truly understanding how situations like this was quickly unfolding and many times turns deadly for Black and brown bodies in our community and across the nation. This particular situation sent ripples through our emerging leaders class, through the entire Open Buffalo family. But out of that moment, it gave birth to this idea that oppressed people, marginalized, disinvested communities needed a safe place to ideate, to grow, to learn, to heal. So 7 years later, the Open Buffalo Ecology Center is being birthed. The Open Buffalo Ecology Center will be, ready for this? An environmentally sustainable indoor, outdoor, ecological campus. It will be located on Buffalo's east side and will be a space for collaboration, community building, strength, and love. Utilizing solar and geothermal energy with the goal of not just net zero, but net positive. How do we protect our community members when the next superstorm comes? And we know that it is. I want to talk about the frequency of snowvembers. Okay? During this top photo in 2015 was a Snowvember. Okay? What was that, 2014. It was a Snowvember. And we had trainers at the time, it was before Zoom really kicked off how it is right now. But we had trainers in South Buffalo that couldn't get out of their home and had to Zoom into this trainer. That was like, wow, that's a thing. People can't get out of their homes, right? But now we're seeing it back to back to back. Climate crisis is real. And who will be impacted are the people in this room. Working class, Black and brown people that are waiting until Friday to stock up their pantry because that's when they get paid. Or waiting to the first of the month because that's when their food stamps come in, right? Like, we need climate resilient strategies, not tomorrow, not next year. We need them right now. It's literally a matter of life and death, and we're seeing it unfold in real time. I believe that Buffalo is presented with a truly unique opportunity to become a national model for what it means to be a climate refuge city. The Open Buffalo Ecology Center will be an Afro-Indigenous inspired 10-acre, educational campus that will develop neighborhood level. We shouldn't wait for solutions. If they come from Washington, if they come from Albany, great. Right? That's the icing on the cake. But the cake our neighborhood resident-driven climate resilient strategies. We know what our people need, right? So we just need the opportunity to resource that, but we have the vision, we have the ideas, we have the strategies. Lastly, how do we prepare when we talk about just transition, right? Opponents to climate resilience will say, this is all about getting rid of your gas stove. I have a gas stove. Oh, I'm sorry, but I do, right? And we like to cook on it. But do I like my gas stove more than I love my baby's life? And that's literally what we're talking about today, right? We're talking about saving lives. So how do we prepare our people for what's coming, right? We know that the transition is happening. How do we make sure that our young people are enrolled in STEM programs, that they're prepared for the green sector jobs that are coming to our community, and not just jobs that are coming, how about we create them? Our young people, our community members, we have the ideas, right? So sometimes we just need a little bump in order to go from ideas to implementation. So how are we going to do all this? You can see some of the vision over to the left. But Open Buffalo was accepted into the 2022 cohort of the Justice 40 Accelerator Program, which is dedicated to building the capacity of nonprofit organizations to do this work, right? And not just for the, people love that. And again, not just for the sake of 10 acres in the city of Buffalo, but how do we take lessons learned from here in Buffalo and take it to Mobile, Alabama, take it to Oakland, take it to Cleveland and Detroit. And we know that if we document, we learn, and we share the information, we can help save an entire nation. With the support of the Justice 40 Accelerator Program, they're assisting with technical assistance, all the things that you don't learn about in community organizing. The Justice 40 Accelerator Program is like, have you thought about that? Have you thought about that? So it's an incredible partnership and opportunity that's helping to build the capacity of our Eco Collective. You see some of our Eco Collective members. Our Eco Collective, and I have 2 minutes, that really gives me anxiety when I see that, but we are gonna make it 2 minutes and we're gonna get everybody out, right? Our Eco Collective is really the heart and soul of the Open Buffalo Ecology Center. They're artists, they're climate justice activists, they're academics, nonprofit leaders, all dedicated to making sure that this comes to fruition. When the major task of the Eco Collective will be to convene monthly listening sessions. So this won't be your first time or your last time seeing these boards. They will make it all across the city of Buffalo and hear your comments, your suggestions, your ideas, and that process will be led by the Eco Collective. Lastly, today marks day 1 of our capital campaign. Yes. Day 1 starts today. We will begin raising the first $250,000 for project implementation phase of the Eco Center. And I did that in 1 minute, 60 seconds. Any other questions that folks may have, you can see me after, but it's really important that folks are able to leave on time. So in closing, 60 seconds ahead, in closing, I just really want to thank everyone that's in this room. You all have played some role in the work that Open Buffalo is doing. The complete work is in the annual report inside of your folders. I encourage you to check out the annual report, and that's not everything. So if you haven't heard something that gets you all hot yet, contact one of the staff members, right? And they will find a way from volunteering to packing bags to fundraising. There's a role for everyone to play in the liberation of our people. And with that said, you can scan this QR code. And when you scan the QR code, it'll take you to a Google Sheet where you can sign up for various volunteer opportunities over the next year. And that is it. That is it. So again, thank you. I do want to shout out Rachel, who's taking pictures right now. Rachel was at the sign-in desk by herself. And so thank you so much. Rachel leads you didn't hear from her today, but she leads some of our lead work as well, and keeping us all in line at Open Buffalo. So thank you. And thank you to everyone.
People with black stars, please see Rachel, get signed in.
Oh, hi, everyone. How are you?
Congratulations on the work.
Good job. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. Hopefully, you could hear, and we thought this was a great event, and really appreciate you being a part of it. Everybody have a great afternoon. Take care.